Marvel's Spectacular Spider-Man 174 hit store shelves and spinner racks in March of 1991, the same month the Soviet Union was dissolved, and Tyler the Creator was born. This issue begins with Peter Parker pulling double duty as Spider-Man and covering his boss J. Jonah Jameson's inauguration of the new Daily Bugle building and commemorative statue. While taking photos of the event, Peter's Spidey senses are triggered when a dark van passes by. Following the van leads to shots fired and Spider-Man discovering a dead body inside. It seems like the perpetrator has ripped a hole through the van and found their way to the sewer systems below. Leaving the police to investigate, Peter returns to the ceremony just in time to warn everyone of imminent danger as Jonah's inaugural statue of himself crumbles to the ground. Rushing off once again as Spider-Man, Peter dives deep into the underground and comes face to face with none other than Doctor Octopus. After a short fight, Doc Ock buries Peter under a mountain of rubble and makes his way to the new Bugle building from underground. Mary Jane, worried about her husband's extended absence, heads to the basement only to be trapped by Doc Ock himself. Octavia storms into Jameson's new office and demands $20 million, or Mary Jane, along with the entire building, will be turned to dust. The story continues in issue 175. This issue was written by David Michelinie, Gerry Conway, and Terry Kavanagh. Michelinie only wrote a handful of Spectacular Spider-Man issues with a short run from 173 to 175, and Spectacular Spider-Man Annual Volume 1, Number 11 and 12, plus Spectacular Spider-Man Super Special Volume 11. He was known primarily as a writer for Amazing Spider-Man between 1987 and 1994, and for introducing the supervillains Venom and Carnage in 1992. Behind Stan Lee, Michelinie had the second longest run on The Amazing Spider-Man. Gerry Conway is best known for co-creating the Marvel Comics anti-hero The Punisher, as well as Ben Reilly's Scarlet Spider, and the first Miss Marvel, and also writing the death of character Gwen Stacy during his long run on Amazing Spider-Man. Conway briefly left Marvel only to return in the 1980s and served as a regular writer on both Spectacular Spider-Man and Web of Spider-Man from 1988 to 1990. His run on Spectacular included such story arcs as the Lobo Brothers Gang War. Terry Kavanagh was a Marvel Comics editor from 1985 to 1997. He wrote such titles as Mark Spector Moon Knight, Avengers Time Slide, X-Men, and X-Universe. In the Web of Spider-Man 100, Kavanagh and artist Alex Safiewicz gave the lead character spider armor. He wrote the Spider-Man Punisher Sabretooth designer Jean story as well. Kavanagh was one of the writers on the Maximum Carnage storyline, which ran through the various Spider-Man titles in 1993. Sal Buscema was both penciler and inker on this issue. Buscema is the younger brother of comics artist John Buscema. In 1968, Sal began working for Marvel Comics, where John was already established as a freelance artist. From 1988 through 1996, he penciled and mostly inked a 100-issue run on Spectacular Spider-Man. This included such story arcs as the Lobo Brothers Gang War and The Child Within, written by J.M. DeMatteis, featuring the death of longtime Spider-Man supporting character Harry Osborn in number 200. In a 2002 interview, DeMatteis said, "I really loved the 2 years on Spectacular Spider-Man that I wrote with Sal Buscema drawing. Talk about underrated. Sal was one of the best storytellers and a wonderful collaborator. I loved that run." Joe Rosas is an influential comic colorist whose work spans iconic series at both Marvel and DC. With Marvel, Rosas contributed to memorable issues of Amazing Spider-Man, Uncanny X-Men, Captain America, Thunderbolts, and Darkhawk, showcasing his talent for bringing heroes to life through vivid color palettes. At DC, he worked on Justice League, Flash, and Wonder Woman, enhancing these characters with a distinct visual style. Known for his attention to detail and the ability to enhance emotional resonance through color, Rosas has left a lasting legacy in the comics industry, making him a beloved figure among fans and artists alike. Letterer Richard Parker worked on this issue. Parker got his start in the comics industry as a letterer from Marvel Comics starting in the late 1970s. Spider-Man editor Jim Salcrup recalled, "Not only did I like having him letter all the titles just so I can pretend to be J. Jonah Jameson and scream Parker at him all the time, but he lived not too far from me at the time, and I quite often would visit his home and hang out with him while he lettered pages, and then we dropped them off at the FedEx office together. This easily saved days on the schedule and got the books done much faster." Danny Figueroth edited this issue. Figueroth got his start in comics business in 1976 as an assistant to Larry Lieber at Marvel Comics. At Marvel, in the 1980s, he edited the Spider-Man titles as well as Marvel Team Up and Kazar. Figueroth resigned from Marvel in 1995 to become editor-in-chief of Visual Comics for Byron Priest Multimedia and AOL. From there, Figueroth served as senior vice president for creative development at Visionary Media, home of Showtime's World Girl, which he served as story editor. Editor-in-chief at this time was Tom DeFalco. DeFalco became Marvel's 10th editor-in-chief on April 15, 1987. He served from 87 to 1994, making him one of the longest-serving individuals to hold that post. The only editors-in-chief with longer service than him were Stan Lee, Jim Shooter, and Joe Quesada. He was a key member of the management team that took Marvel public, and under his leadership, Marvel's net profits from publishing rose by over 500%. After clashing with the company's upper management, DeFalco resigned in 1994. Did you know that up until issue 134, the title of this series was Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man? The Peter Parker part of the title was removed, and the series became simply The Spectacular Spider-Man. The logo changed from a distinctive design to using the same design as that of Amazing Spider-Man and the 1968 Spectacular Spider-Man magazine. This logo did not change again until November 1994 with issue 218. The reason that the Bugle is celebrating a reopening is due to Thomas Fireheart, who bought the Daily Bugle during a hostile takeover in Spectacular Spider-Man 156 in order to repay a debt to Spider-Man for boosting his public image. He later sold it back to Jonah in Spectacular Spider-Man 171. The original Daily Bugle building was left condemned and torn down after it was heavily damaged by graviton in Web of Spider-Man 64 and 65. Interesting to note that there is a slight continuity error with the cover of this issue. While the story has Doc Ock in white and Mary Jane in tan and purple, the cover shows Doc Ock in green, while MJ is in white. So, how often are statues erected in New York City? Well, since 2022, the city has seen more statues of women being erected to highlight their contributions to society. Just last year, there was a Ruth Bader Ginsburg statue installed atop the New York State Supreme Courthouse in Manhattan, a statue of Shirley Chisholm in Brooklyn's Prospect Park. Chisholm was the first black woman elected to the U.S. Congress. There's also a statue of Catherine Walker on Staten Island. She was a lighthouse keeper celebrated for saving lives. None of these statues have ever crumbled to the ground. This issue features a pretty sci-fi looking underground version of the sewer system and the new Bugle building. But what does it really look like under the city? I found some interesting locations you can actually visit. I doubt you'd find Doc Ock lurking there though. Crown Finish Caves is located at the intersection of Bergen Street, Franklin Avenue. Built as a brewery way back in 1849, the owners added an ice house to the intersection in 1866 and a tunnel to connect it to the brewery. The space is currently being occupied by Crown Fish Caves, a cheesemaker that uses the underground space to age its stinky dairy products. The Freedom Tunnel is located under Riverside Park and has long been a fixture of New York City urban exploration lore. Freight trains operated through the tunnel until 1980, and when regular operations on the track ended, the stretch became a haven for graffiti artists. Rumor has it that the tunnel got its name from Chris Freedom Pape, a notable graffiti artist who produced stunning work in the space. In 1991, Amtrak began using the tunnel once again, and it is no longer a city beneath the city that it was decades ago. Doc Ock ransoms the Bugle building and Mary Jane for $20 million, or about $46 million today. So what can you get for $46 million? Well, a waterfront mansion located on Miami's Star Island, Jean-Michel Basquiat's Versus Medici, a 1982 painting, a Gulfstream G55 jet can range from about 40 to 50 million, Amel's 180 super yacht, a 180-foot luxury yacht, or you can get two Bugatti La Voiture Noire, or a penthouse at 432 Park Avenue. Or you can splurge and spend $40 on a pair of sunglasses from Amazon that look very similar to the pair Doc Ock is wearing on the cover. Considering I'm reviewing comics that are mostly from my childhood collection, it's a no-brainer that I absolutely love this issue. For me, there was none better than Sal Buscema when it came to Spider-Man. I loved how Buscema brought Spider-Man to life with fluid body movement, clean lines, and incredible visuals. Sal's Spider-Man was my Spider-Man growing up, and pound for pound, I still consider him one of the best in the biz. While doing my research on this issue, I came across a few articles discussing Sal's choices regarding Spider-Man's eye lenses. Many people noted that Sal chose to keep them fairly static, and instead have his body give us an inclination into Spider-Man's emotions. I had never noticed this before, and I went back and flipped through this issue. Sure enough, Spidey's eye lenses never move, and when he does express any type of emotion, his mask stays perfectly still. It's fascinating. Another nuance about Buscema's work is how he draws Spider-Man in profile. I absolutely love it. Really striking visuals. Buscema also had a knack for giving fluidity and ease of movement to Doctor Octopus, a character who, visually, can be difficult to draw and have him look natural. When Buscema has Spider-Man and Doc Ock in close quarters in the sewer, the visuals don't appear stuffed with too much. It's a perfect level of detail to drive the story along. This issue isn't very rare or sought after, so I'm seeing decent prices for it. I see it selling for $6.40 on mycomicshop.com and $5.99 on eBay. 1991 was a very strong year for Marvel. The popularity of titles like Amazing Spider-Man, which introduced Carnage in 1991, and The New Mutants, featuring the debut of Deadpool, coupled with the strong sales for X-Men titles, propelled them to the top. DC was also performing well, especially with Batman titles following the success of the 1989 film, though Marvel was typically the market leader throughout 1991. 1991 was also the beginning of a shift away from traditional newsstands to specialty comic stores instead. Specialty stores allowed publishers and distributors to target a dedicated readership with higher quality monthly titles without concerns over unsold copies. Of the top-selling comics in 1991, Spider-Man and Uncanny X-Men were the top titles. However, X-Men fully dominated the market with no less than 5 direct X-Men titles and 3 related titles like Wolverine, New Mutants, and Heart of Darkness on the list. Marvel's dominance was in full swing, owning 91 out of the top 100 titles for the year, while the rest were 8 by DC and 1 by a DC Dark Horse collaboration called Batman vs. Predator. With high-selling numbers comes an influx of advertisers, and this issue has no less than 7 different brands selling their wares. General Mills has ads for Lucky Charms and Honey Nut Cheerios, while Capcom and Konami was pushing Nintendo and Game Boy games. Game publisher Arcadia was heavily promoting its new Silver Surfer game for Nintendo. The game received mixed reviews and was called out for its difficulty. The music of the game, however, is highly praised for its composition and technical accomplishments. The second ad for the game featured a high score contest, where a winner received a customized Silver Surfer jet ski. If anyone has this thing, please send me photos. The card collecting craze was also in full swing, and NBA Hoops ran 2 ads in this issue. One of the standard cards, but another for the Hoops Collect-a-Book series. I tried to find a comic shop listed in this issue, but was unable to, so I looked for an Octopus-themed comic shop and got pretty close. Octopus Books is a bookstore that features graphic novels and mangas and is located at 116 3rd Avenue at Bank Street in Ottawa, Canada. You can also visit them at octopusbooks.ca. Thanks for checking out this video. If you want to see more, please hit like and subscribe. If you have suggestions for comics you want me to deep dive into, please leave a comment below. Please help and support real artists. AI is great